this is Jim Thompson with PERFLIGHT. Thanks for watching this video. This is going to be a quick tutorial to get you up and running quickly and give you a base understanding of the product. Here we are looking at my Microsoft Flight Simulator folder. It's a little messy, but it'll make a little more sense in a bit. Across the top, I've got a bunch of folders full of add-ons that I've collected over the years, purchased, downloaded. And then at the bottom, I've got some shortcuts. I'm sure a lot of us have our desktop littered with shortcuts like this that we use to open up things like Orbix and AnyBuilds and Contrail and Navigraph. Hopefully we're going to make that part a little easier for you. So we're going to start out with a fresh, brand new, clean version of PERFLIGHT. You see here. I'm going to move these around so we can kind of have them side by side. And so on the left is what you're going to see the first time you launch the application. The first thing it wants to do, of course, is figure out where is the simulator that we're going to be managing. And so it offers up a couple different options based on what it found on your computer. Now, for demo purposes, I've got both 2024 and 2020 that I've purchased through the Microsoft Store and have used over the years. I also have a fake installation from Steam here, just for demonstration purposes. And so one of the things you're going to want to do is, if one of these is the accurate folder, the location of your community folder, then you can just select it here. So for example, I'm using 24. All I have to do is select it and click confirm. If you're using Steam and we find your Steam location in the standard spot, which is in your user folder, then we will have it highlighted here. All you have to do is select it and then tell us where your executable is, your Flight Simulator 2024 EXE. Or if you're using the 2020 version, same thing, you're going to find your EXE there. We don't need to do the executable for the Microsoft Store because it actually does that for you. It's managed by the Microsoft Store itself, so we don't even need to know where the file is. It's actually impossible to find on your computer, which is strange, but true. If for some reason you're installed on a custom secondary drive in a custom path and the program is unable to find your community folder, all you need to do is click the browse manually. And what you're going to want to do is actually find the folder that contains your community folder, right? So if I were to go to my community folder and go up, you can see here, right? This is what we're looking at, community. These have all the community folders. This is my main community folder there. So when I select that, it'll say, hey, make sure you pick a folder that contains your community. So that part is important, okay? But mine is already predetermined here. All I have to do is say, yes, this is my Microsoft.limitless folder, which is where my community is, and click confirm. It's going to verify that and then launch us into the startup window. So this is the first thing you'll see once you get past that step. Just a quick overview of the three main things that we're going to do in the side of the app, which is having your installer apps, your what we call services, whether they're websites or whether they're applications, all of managing your libraries and your add-ons, as well as your flight planning. So those are kind of the three main parts of the app that we're talking about here. A couple quick links here if you want to see latest information, for example, what's new in the version that you're running. Maybe you just recently upgraded. All I have to do is click there. It's going to take you right to these release notes. We just released 1.1.0 this morning. So that's what you're seeing there when you click on this. You notice I'm in a beta version because I'm obviously building the next version, 1.20. We have a link to our Discord server. We have a link to our full product roadmap that you can vote on. You can submit ideas. You can see what we're working on here. You can see the full exhaustive changelog with lots of detail of everything we've changed in the application, going back pretty much almost to the beginning. And then the bottom one is importing from Microsoft Flight Sim Add-on Linker, which of course is a popular program available that lots of people use. We can automatically import all of your data, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So I'm just going to close this. If you get tired of seeing this screen, you can check this box. It will stop popping up every time you start the app. Okay. All right, so we're on the first page, what we call the init page or the initialization. There's a couple things that we can do here. First, you can put in your Simbrief pilot ID. You can also put in your VATSIM ID. If you're a VATSIM user, go ahead and pop those in. We'll show you what it looks like in my development version a little bit later, which I have fully configured. Down the right side is where we actually establish our flight services. We've preloaded this with 17 different applications. This is kind of based on the ones that we use most frequently. So for example, if you're a user of PMDG products, all you have to do is select it and it adds it automatically to the list. Now that's based on us assuming that you have it installed in the same standard place that everybody does. If for some reason you can't find it and you go to install one of these, so you can see here, Contrail automatically detected, it just automatically adds it to your list. You can just pop through the list and add these one by one. Let's say you're flying the A380 a lot, you want your fly-by-wire installer. Of course, also the fly-by-wire installer is where you would update your FSLTL if you're using the traffic matching. Now, by the way, you can immediately click these. They're going to start opening up on your computer, right? These are designed as one-click launchers. So now we can get away from all these desktop, all the things on the desktop that we're looking at, right? We can remove those because we're just going to have them built into our application. I'm a fan of this particular one, the cabin announcements. I know that there's probably half a dozen different programs you can use to do the same thing. I also do happen to get the Aerosoft CRJ as well as the Flight Sim Studio 175, 195 from Aerosoft. So of course I'm going to also install the Aerosoft One installer. Navigraph, of course, can't live without that. The Simlink, maybe we don't want to forget, but you see here it's saying, hey, it automatically it tried to detect Simlink and it couldn't find it. So all you have to do is really pop open into Browse. I can go to my Flight Sim folder. Let's see, is it in here? No, it's up one level. It's in my Games folder. I have a Navigraph, and then inside of Navigraph is my Simlink, and then all I have to do is point it to the EXE, and there we go. Now I've got my Navigraph Simlink as a service. So again, you can go through all of these. Most of the ones are going to come up automatically, assuming you're installing them in the default places. If you've got the iFly Max, maybe you get that from Flight One, like I do. I think that's the only place to get that one. Orbix, of course, very important, right? Again, automatically detected Orbix. Most of us don't use the Simbrief downloader anymore, but that's available. I use TrackIR for head tracking. And so very quickly, you kind of build up a little library of your flight services. And these come into play later when we're doing the checklist. I'll give you another example. Any custom app that you want to add, you can just build right here, right? So you can just give it a name. You can point it to the EXE. So for example, although it has nothing to do with Microsoft Flight Simulator, if I said Tower Sim 3 and I went Browse, and I could come down here, I believe I have it under Steam, but anyway, here's Tower Simulator 3, right? And I could just give it a name. I can give it a color. Say, oh, let's make it green. Click Add. Now I've got Tower Sim 3 as a custom button that will launch that app. I can also just put in a website. So for example, let's say I just wanted to be able to open up flightsim.to as a website. We can just type that in, spell it correctly, of course. .com. Oops, sorry, not .com. Flightsim.to. We can also give it a different label if you want, right? So we could just say like that. We could say it like this without the URL. If you choose auto, it's just going to pick one randomly. We can also, again, come back in and put in, you know, they like purple, so let's go with purple. How about that? So now we've got FlightSim.to as a purple with the little website icon. So again, we're building up our list of pre-built applications as well as websites. So you just tap it, boom, look at that, just opens it straight up. Okay. So always be sure to check your installers, make sure you've got, make sure they're all working, right? There's my iFly Max 8, Contrail. We want to make sure that you've given it admin permissions for all of your installations. So there's the Contrail app. Okay, enough on that topic. Next, the performance page or the perf page. This is, of course, this is a button you find in the FMS of many Airbuses. It's kind of the inspiration for the name of the product, as you can see, PERF. We're going to be coming back to this. Currently, I have no add-ons added to the system. The third is my flight plan. You can see here that I actually had loaded a flight plan previously. We'll be coming back and talking about that in a bit. And then, of course, our new checklist feature, which we've not built out yet. The data page, it's just going to give you a summary of all of your libraries. Matter of fact, with our new version 1.20, we're going to show you a new feature I'll talk about in a minute. And then the help page will reopen this. So again, if let's say you click this don't show on startup, you can always get back to it by clicking help. It'll pop open again. All right, just to quickly show you how this process works, we have an article in our Discord as well as on the help site about what is the difference between libraries and sets. You see them both here. If you're used to using Addon linker, then what they call a folder, we call a library. So let's say I pull up my Microsoft Flight Simulator folder and I want to open my utilities. You see here I've got 7 add-ons inside of here. I'm going to select that folder and say add library. Boom. Immediately we've brought in the 7. Now we're going to talk about cleaning this up in a second. Before we do that, I want to pause and just talk about your community folder. So here is my community folder right now. There are 14 things in the folder. You see I've got this in content mode because it's the way to get the text as large as possible so that you can read it on the video. And I want to explain why there are 14 things in this folder already, even though I've not begun enabling any add-ons. I have made the conscious decision to let these 14 things live in my community folder full-time. I don't want to turn them on or off. So these include my Navigraph data. These include my MobiFlight, which helps power my Octavi IFR1. It includes GSX. You can see here this little arrow is telling you that this is a link to GSX. That is a link that is not provided by PERFLIGHT. It's not provided by us, but GSX does this on their own. They maintain GSX in a separate folder, and they symlink it into your community. And then at the bottom, you'll see Chase Plane. So these are 14 folders that are already going to exist inside of my community folder. And now if we kind of zoom out, you'll see there's kind of a short list there. Now that I've got my first library, right, it actually detected 5 add-ons out of that utility folder. It's automatically pulling in some images, some that don't have images, right? And if I just click enable, already you see it's enabled it. It's right there, right? I go through these. For this set of 3, I'm going to click enable all. You see all 3 just showed up in my community folder. So that's what we're doing, right? We're taking them out of your folders, we're enabling them, we're popping them into your community folder for you. So basically helping automate that. Now, we have 4 categories, essentially, you can collapse. Airports and scenery, utilities and tools. We also have other add-ons are things that we can't figure out whether they belong in airports or liveries, right? As a separate category. So airports, aircraft, and liveries is the other one. So you'll see that as I add in another folder. Now, this one, flight flow, which is improved textures, I'm going to decide I want this in my utilities folder. So I'm going to click the details link. This is where I can edit this, and I can say what category do I want it on. I want it under utilities. And then another feature is telling PERFLIGHT, where do you get this add-on from, right? So if you happen to remember where you've downloaded this, usually when I can't, I might just leave it as other or just say manual, that I manually installed it. Honestly, I don't remember where I got it, but let's just assume that it was from the flightsim.to website. I would just choose that as the source. Now, why is that important? So now you notice we're down to just 2 folders because I moved that one. Well, why is that important? Because the goal of this application is to help you keep these add-ons up to date. And so one of the ways we want to do that is be able to remind you, hey, go over to Contrail and look for any updates you might have to your library. And so it helps to have all of your add-ons linked to the place that they're sourced. Now, for example, if I add another folder, let's say I add my entire aircraft folder, let's see what we get. We click Add Library. Now, by default, we're going to search 10 levels deep. What does that mean? Well, we're looking through your aircraft folders. So let's go back over and show you what's in my aircraft folder here. There are some folders that will be nested really deep, right? You'll go like 3, 4, or 5 levels deep before you'll actually find the add-on. And so we need to be able to determine how far deep we want to go down, right? By default, as I said, it's 10, but you can change that. So looking across the top here, you see we've got a search box. We got the button that we use to add another library. We got a little drop down that tells us which libraries we've loaded so far. I can actually turn them on and off, which is cool, right? And all that's doing, that's not enabling them or disabling them. All it's doing is taking them out of our site so we don't see them on the screen. That's an important differentiation. So hide all, show all, but we're not enabling or disabling. We have not created any sets yet, but over here on the right is this gear. Now look at all these things we can do. We can switch from card layout to table layout, right? So there's our table layout, pretty nice. We can sort these instead of by category, we can sort them by developer. So check that out. Blackbird, Flightflow, Fly-by-Wire, iFly, Miltech. So you can toggle back and forth. Do you want to see them by category? Do you want to see them by the developer? One of the things I want to highlight before I forget, you see in the background, we've got these cool images. If you refresh the app, you'll see there's ultimately about 10 different images that we show back here that we get from Unsplash. Just trying to kind of mix it up, keep it interesting looking, right? Another trick is, let's say you're in the app and you see something in the background. You're like, what is that thing back there? Just roll your mouse over the bottom. It gives you the whole image. Pretty slick, huh? And if you love that image and you want to download it, just click on Unsplash. It'll actually take you right to that image. And you can look at the other photos by that photographer. It's a little Easter egg hidden in the application there. So don't be surprised if the app looks a little different every time you reload it. That's because there's going to be different images in the background, right? So again, you can kind of turn these off if I just want to see the image, or I can just roll down on the bottom. Beautiful picture of Air France. Okay, let's turn these back on. Going back over to this menu here with the settings, we have show enabled, show disabled, show missing. These are important, right? Because right now we've only enabled 2 things. Or sorry, we've enabled 5 things. Let's go back into card mode, actually. There we go. So if we say show disabled only, it's going to show us only the ones that are turned off. And as we turn these on, you'll see they disappear. Why is that? Well, because they're actually enabled, right? As soon as we enable them, they disappear because we're showing only the ones that are disabled. If I switch to enabled, now it's going to show us the ones that are only enabled. Okay. So these are the default behaviors. None of these actually are checked. And then there's a show missing, and that's because I'll explain that later, actually. Now, the first thing you'll notice is, what is this, right? It's empty. It's got no name. It just says aircraft. It's disabled. So the first thing that's a clue is I look down here and I see iVow MTL, and I realize just from memory, because I remember when I downloaded this, that this was actually a set of data matching that we did, the MTL data. And if you look in the, where is it? I think it's this one. In this text file, this is a pattern, not a pattern matching. That's the wrong word. Sorry. It's it is a list of matching on model matching. That's the word I couldn't find. Model matching. So this is an IVAO model matching table that we use for the virtual US Navy. That's where I got this file. And so I want to have it in my community folder because it's used for rendering like F-16s and F-35s properly within Flight Sim. So since I don't want to look at this blank little thing, right, I can click details and I can just edit this. I can say IVAO model matching data, right? And then we can just put this in here. And then you can actually upload your own image, which is pretty cool, right? So this was actually the source of this was Discord for me, but if you click upload image, I've got a bunch of test images that we can use, right? I can pretty much just pick any image that I want. And there we go. Now I've given it a custom icon. All right. So now that I've actually given it text, you'll see that it's now showing up in alphabetical order down below. The ones that don't have they don't ship with any thumbnails. They're just going to say the same thing as the name, right? It's just going to say liveries. But one of the things that you're going to want to do is remove these stupid placeholder images. So a lot of livery developers will actually, inside their folders, they will have a thumbnail that just says placeholder, but then they never actually replace the placeholder image. That drives me crazy. So I want to be able to remove that, right? Or potentially just replace it with my own. So I've got some examples, maybe not necessarily here. Let's see, do I have an image for the Airbus 145? I might have one. Like here's a fictional image, and that is the H145. So there you go. So I've gotten rid of the placeholder and I've uploaded my own image there. So this is one of the first things that I do, right? Perfect example. Here's the Miltech MH60 with nothing but a placeholder. It's kind of sad. So I would normally go in, find an image. Usually I keep a folder of them. Here we go. There's one of the MH60, the Blackhawk, right? So my goal is to kind of clean these up, maybe update their names, make sure they have the right images, make sure I've designated where I get them from. For example, all my PMDG ones are obviously coming from the PMDG Operations Center, right? And you can just one at a time kind of click these on one at a time. And once again, you'll see the community folder will continue to get larger and larger, right? We're up to 26 items. Another couple of shortcuts you can do is just enable all, right? And then that just enabled 24 more add-ons. You saw them populate on the right side. I can go down, let's say I want to add another library. Let's pull up my my airports library. Here we go. So there's, well, however many there are there. Let's see. We're going to click Add Library. It's going to look through them. Again, I'm scanning at a depth of about 10 levels deep in each folder. So if I wanted to go deeper, I can go down here and I can set it to 20. It's going to slow down your scan a little bit, but it will allow you to find folders that are nested much deeper inside your folder structure. Another little cute tip is if you go to the Data tab, and you can see down here, it'll tell you how far deep we found your add-ons. So under my library breakdown, so far we've pointed it to roughly 200 gigabytes worth of add-ons. In my aircraft folder, it found add-ons as far as 5 levels deep. So I could technically go back to the performance page, go to the gear, and I could just lower this to 5, right? And so that way, every time I rescan, it's going to take less time, sorry. So this is doing a complete rescan. Now, why is that important? Well, because we're constantly adding new add-ons. We're updating add-ons to new versions, and it's important that we have the updated data. As a matter of fact, if you were to go into one of these folders, for example, here's the HPG TAWS data, and I move this folder out. I'm just going to move it to my desktop. Look what happens. So the app immediately, PERFLIGHT detects and says, library changes have been detected. Do you want to rescan? I'm going to go ahead and put this back in this folder. Just click move here. So I know I don't need to rescan because all I did was remove one folder, right? But when you hear that little sound, you'll know that it's alerting you to, hey, maybe it's time to rescan your folder. Next thing I want to do is just quickly tell you about sets. So if you create a set, let's call a set Boeing, right? Say all my Boeing aircraft. I can now go down here and search for example, B. Well, that's kind of silly, right? First thing it brought up was Airbus. That's kind of ironic. Well, I could do 7.3, right? And I can now just start adding to, sorry, I didn't mean for that to close. If I say 7.3, I can just click the plus sign and I can add all the matching, right? Now, I don't have that many turned on right now, but right there, we've created a set of 3. Now I have the ability to just turn on the entire set at once. And so this is similar to Addon Linker. Addon Linker, of course, has their own version of this with what they call presets. So what they call presets is basically our sets, okay? Which is probably a good time to segue over to what the import process looks like. So if we come back to help, as I said earlier, import from MSFS add-on linker is a button that shows up at the bottom. This will show up if we detect that you have it installed. Once again, if it's in the standard location, we will discover the file that we need to be able to import. So I'm now looking live at my 11 folders. So I have 11 different folders in MSFS add-on linker. 50 of the add-ons have location data associated. There are 2 presets in there which are going to get converted into sets. Now if I've already imported some, which you've just watched me import some aircraft and some airports, it says skip the existing and duplicate folders. And then I can do a quick little preview. So I can see here which ones already exist, which ones are going to be created, my fly-by-wire, my Contrail, my Hawaii folder, my Aerosoft. And all I have to do is click Start Import, right? So it's created 8 new libraries. It's skipped over 3 of them. It's going to create 2 presets as soon as I'm done scanning. And when I close this, it's going to go ahead and start the deep dive. Once again, I'm only going 5 levels deep, but it's going to add a bunch more add-ons into the system. All right. And one of the things, I maintain 2 versions of this app, obviously, because I'm testing both a development version as well as a live version. You can see the number is going up here as it finds more and more. And so I'm going to toggle over to my development version because I've already got it cleaned up. It's already fully loaded. There you go. 201 add-ons discovered. It created 2 sets with 91 total members. And then 50 of them have been updated with location data. And then there are 8 presets matches that it couldn't automatically make. And it actually gives you the list here, right? So these are things that existed in add-on linker, but it couldn't find the exact match in your folders. And that could be due to a lot of things. Usually it's just inconsistency with the namings, right? But not bad that we only have 8 of them. We click done. Once again, we're back to having all these placeholder images. So what I will do is I'm going to switch over to my development version here. So the difference, of course, here is I've got a number of more buttons that are set up. I've already got my IDs in there, right? So I can just, once again, I can click the dispatch button to open up Simbrief. I can open up VATSIM radar right here, right? Which is nice. I always want to preview kind of what the coverage looks like before I'm planning a flight. Oops, sorry about that. Open that up too big. And you can see all the buttons that I'm currently using, right? Opening my Smart Cars 3, or opening up, yeah, I've even added Simbrief as a separate button here. I've opened up vPilot. There it is, right? It updates automatically. So these are things that are just part of my process. Another application that I discovered that isn't standard, but it is important for me because I fly the Embraer 175 and 195 pretty frequently, is this Flight Sim Studios Navigraph updater. So you actually have to update the 175 and 195 with this separate app if you want to have nav data inside the FMC. So of course you sign into your Navigraph account, etc., etc. But this Navigraph app does not automatically do that like it does for everybody else. Now look at that. We just switched over, I think today, to 2602. So now I've got to go through and do all my updates, right? How horrible would it be if I had planned out a full flight, launched simulator, got in my plane, and then realized I hadn't updated my Navigraph data, right? That's part of the whole process of PERFLIGHT, and part of the reason it exists is I want to make sure I don't forget about a single thing that I need to do before starting my flight. And so how do we do that part? Well, for one thing, we build a checklist. Now that we've got our add-ons, right? We've got all of our add-ons nice and cleaned up. We've got our buttons, our service buttons. As you saw before, we have a flight plan with all this different flight data. It's kind of a very abbreviated list of things that we get from Simbrief right now. We will enhance this in the future. No, the little plane does not move at the moment, but it will once we integrate SimConnect. But now that we've got the flight plan, we can go over and go to our checklist, right? So this is with my demo checklist already being built out. Let me move this out of the way over here. I just gave some random examples, launch my GSX updater, right? Which takes forever, so I'm not going to click it. Open up Simbrief, of course, it's going to instantly launch it. Sync my flight plan, launch Navigraph Hub, which you saw a minute ago. So when you want to, what you want to do is design your checklist. It's very intuitive. You just scroll down and you say add a step. What step do you want to do? Well, I want to open up a website. I want to launch one of my services. I want to sync my flight plan. I want to create a manual reminder, is like put on head tracking, right? Or something like that. You can put on anything you want. It's going to create a manual, a reminder right inside of your checklist. Now, the syncing flight plan is the unique one, right? Because we're using this data to try and intelligently tell you a couple of things. First of all, we scanned the flight plan and we see you're going to fly an Airbus 350-900 from Boston to London. So, and it's also telling us that based on that aircraft number, it found all of these add-ons in our library. So that's pretty cool. So the default list is just, these are the ones that are matching the ICAO code. And then we expand out and we try to look for more information, right? So for example, the base the A350 airliner folder, that is the root of the AnyBuilds A350. That one I definitely want to have on, as well as my cabin packs at a minimum. Everything else are basically liveries. You can see Singapore, British Airways, Finnair, Japan, right? So if I'm going to fly this flight plan, and this is a KLM, you can see here, I can just go over to my checklist and say, all right, let me make sure I've got, my selection of KLM liveries to choose from when I'm in the simulator. I don't want to necessarily turn them all on. I'm just going to turn on the KLM ones. Then I'm going to collapse that. You can just say enable all if you'd like, or maybe you want to go search flightsim.to. You can do that with the find button. Maybe I want to go find another one to download. Next, we've got our departure airport of Boston. You can see here it says disabled. So the system has detected that I own a Boston Logan airport scenery, but it's not turned on. So very simple, just click enable, right? In another demo, I was showing Amsterdam, where I have some related scenery, right? There's one that removes trees. There's one that adds grass. And so as long as they have the ICAO code inside, and I'll show you what I mean by that. When I'm back on my list of add-ons, all three of these are related to Amsterdam, right? So one of the things I want to make sure that I do is put the ICAO code in these others. So that way it will automatically find it, right? So it's another part of the cleanup. So now we have removing trees and adding grass. These are upgrades to the base Fly Tampa Amsterdam scenery, right? So when I would run my pre-flight check, it would actually find all three of those and it would let me install them. Now, the reason I plan this flight to London is because I don't own any London scenery. So now I have the option just to say, well, how about I go to FS Add-on Compare for London? Let's see what we've got. Oh, look, I can buy, oh, that's Star Training. We don't want that. Here's an airport, right? We've got the AnyBuilds for $24 from a couple different locations. Apparently it's $20 on the marketplace. Or the nighttime enhanced scenery, or all these other additional things. So that's pretty cool, right? That gives me a sense of where I can actually find this. I can also just go directly to this button and pull up AnyBuilds. So now it's going to take me right to the source. So there it is, $26.89. I can just buy it here. And then of course I can go back to my launcher, right? And I could just install it from my list of products. And I am looking into ways to just do the search directly in here. And I've reached out to those providers just to make it a little bit easier, kind of take me right to this page, right? And I can just buy it directly from within the application. So that's something we're looking into as well. All right. And that's a pretty broad overview, get you up and running with PerFlight. Of course, last but not least, is you can always just launch the simulator directly from here. Just for grins, I'm going to quickly go and enable everything, right? So we click enable all under my aircraft. So there's 105 new ones there. Once again, go over to community folder. We're going to see that this list should keep getting bigger and bigger. All right. zoom out. All right, so we're up to 132 activated. Let's do the same with our airports and scenery. All right, there's 72 more. We're up to 203. And I think under utilities, we say enable all. There's 14 more. So that's about right. I usually have 213 to 214 total add-ons that I tend to enable for my flights. If I'm not being selective, right, that's the total list of add-ons that I've got. And that's your overview for PerFlight. Thanks for being a member of the community. Thanks for trying out the application. Please join us on Discord or on FeatureBase. Give us your thoughts and feedback, and happy flying.